Welcome to the deep dive. We are cutting through a stack of sources today that paints one of the most, well, compelling and frankly terrifying portraits of a future we've ever really looked at. We're not just looking at technology here. We're diving into a universe where, starships and spiritual transcendence are literally the same thing. And get this, both often lead to madness or death.
That really is the core tension, isn't it? Our sources guide us through this really complex future landscape. It's defined by decay on one hand and just impossible speed on the other. Think about Earth, specifically Neo-Paris. It's described as, well, a gorgeous horror, really, the Rue Chabrol. It's a dense riot of tropical vegetation, like a jungle, literally reclaiming the city streets.
A jungle in Paris, wow.
Yeah. But then the wealthy center, the area around the Eiffel Tower, the Gastrodome, that's preserved. It's under a temperature-controlled dome. It just throws this extreme wealth disparity and, I guess, environmental failure right in your face, side by side.
It's a world where the old ways are just gone. And you see that perfectly symbolized at the Orly spaceport. It's now basically a commercial graveyard, right? Lined with these enormous decommissioned big ships, these leviathans of space travel.
Exactly, leviathans. And people look at them with this intense, almost religious nostalgia.
Which makes sense because the way the galaxy actually works now changed so violently.
Oh, absolutely. The old Starship companies, the lines they called them, they closed down almost overnight, just gone, replaced by this interface technology run by massive organizations like Keeler-Vintikov and, crucially for our story, the Danzig Organization.
Right, the DO. And this interface tech, these jump gates, they revolutionized travel, but there's a cost, a big one we don't often see talked about in sci-fi.
Yeah, the sources are really stark about it. Earth to the furthest bits of the rim. Used to take a month. Now, 6 hours. The whole cosmos basically shrank down to the size of a single planet.
6 hours, but...
The sources explicitly state interface travel is painful. Speed equals agony, essentially.
Oof. Okay. And this leap, this painful, instantaneous leap, it also wiped out an entire profession.
Instantly obsolete. The Enginemen, or E-men, these were the pilots who navigated the old starships, the big ships, and they didn't just plot coordinates, They used these sophisticated occipital consoles, basically plug their minds in to mind-push the ships through deep space. They traversed this domain they called the nada-continuum, the Flux.
So the E-men weren't just like space truckers. They were human machines interfacing directly with the fabric of reality.
That's a good way to put it, but now they're redundant. They're just drifting around Neo-Paris. We see characters like Ella's partner, Eddie. People look at him with this weird mix of pity and awe. They've lost their whole purpose.
But it wasn't just a job they lost, was it? You mentioned the Flux.
No, exactly. They lost transcendence. And this is where, if we dive into, the next segment, the philosophy of this universe gets truly profound. The act of traversing the Flux. It wasn't just travel. It was deeply spiritual, almost chemically addictive, you could say.
Okay, tell us more about the Flux itself. What was it like for the Enginemen when they pushed?
They describe it as the ultimate union. It's being one with the vastness, achieving rapture, experiencing a union with the majesty of the sublime, the infinite. To an E-man, the nada-continuum isn't just empty space or, warp drive territory. It is nirvana. It's heaven. Confirmed.
Wait. So this isn't faith anymore. This is like physics. Humanity found a confirmed, albeit painful, gateway to the ultimate spiritual realization.
Precisely.
That changes everything, how people view life, death.
Completely. And that's why losing access creates this absolute spiritual crisis for them. For former Enginemen, life without the Flux is described literally as hell. You get individuals like this character McCready driven mad by the memory of it. He desperately seeks an interface death.
An interface death, meaning?
He hopes that going back through the painful jump gates might somehow maybe mimic the rapture they lost, give him that final union with the One.
That level of desperation is staggering, and it leads to, what, a black market?
It does. The craving is so immense. There's a black market for Flux time. The sources cite the cost at 1,000 credits an hour, which for someone like our main character, Bobby Mirren, is like 2 months' salary, just for an hour.
Wow. And this belief system, it even spawned a church.
Yeah, the Church of the Disciples. They view the continuum as the literal afterlife, the beyond. And tellingly, their place of worship, it's a stripped-out small ship. They literally worship the vessel that took them there.
Okay, but here's where the cost becomes terrifyingly literal. This ultimate spiritual union, it corrupts the body. Black syndrome.
Black syndrome, yeah. a fatal neurological disorder. It seems to be exclusive to Enginemen who fluxed regularly. We know of 5 individuals mentioned. Black, Thorne, Rodriguez, 2 others, all contracted it, all died, usually within months, drifting into a coma.
So the gateway to the infinite soul destroys the physical body. The ultimate paradox.
That's exactly.
And yet, we have Bobby Mirren. He's the only one known to have survived it.
The only one. But survival came with this. Well, cosmic price. He became time-lapsed. This is maybe the most bizarre detail in the whole thing.
Time-lapse, how does that even work? Physically present, but mentally 24 hours behind.
It's this horrific neurological disjunction. The only sense he has in the present is touch. He can feel the world now, but his main senses, sight, hearing, even smell and taste, they're delayed by approximately 1 standard day. So he sees what his eyes looked at yesterday. He hears yesterday's sounds.
I'm just trying to picture walking. If he wants to step forward now, he has to sync that action with a visual cue of his feet moving that he saw 24 hours ago.
The cognitive load must be immense. The sources say it took him months of just grueling practice to walk smoothly without swaying. He lives in this permanent echo, constantly forcing his mind to anticipate today's physical needs based on yesterday's sensory data.
It's like a cruel inverse of the perfect union he wanted in the Flux. Now he's eternally disjoined from the present.
Perfectly put. Eternally disjoined.
But this state, this broken, unique condition, resulting from surviving the very thing that killed his friends, suddenly makes him incredibly valuable.
Yes. And that takes us straight into the geopolitical mess brewing out in the Rim sector.
Who's capitalizing on all this fragmentation and desperation? You mentioned the Danzig Organization earlier, the DO.
That would be them, the DO. They're far more than just some company running interfaces. They're this corporate military behemoth that basically dominates the Rim sector. The sources state they're responsible for the military takeover of, quote, 100 or more erstwhile free planets. They don't just own the tech, they own the governments. They run a brutal corporate tyranny out there.
And the sources link them to some truly horrific things, not just corporate maneuvering.
Oh, absolutely not. They're directly linked to something called the Lho Plague and the mass execution of the Lho-Dharvo people on a planet called Hennessy's Reach. The source material is chilling. It describes DO militia just executing kneeling Lho-Dharvo aliens. Shots to the back of the head. This isn't collateral damage, it's targeted, state-sponsored genocide, used to enforce control.
But where there's tyranny, there's resistance. And opposing the DO is this figure, Hearst Hunter. Fascinating guy, apparently. Disfigured, with a complicated past.
Yeah, Hunter. He actually used to be a DO troubleshooter, you know, the kind of person who cleans up their messes. He's physically marked by it, too. Described as having this crimson sort of mold-like growth covering half his face. Visibly disfigured, but he's flipped. He switched sides. Now he's working directly with the survivors of the Lho-Dharvo devicide. Specifically, their religious elite, the Lho effectuators.
The Lho effectuators. Okay, critical piece here. They're described as their finest religious minds, communicating telepathically and existing on the cusp of reality and the nada-continuum. What does that mean, functionally?
Their function seems to be boundary manipulation. Because they exist right on that edge, between reality and the flux, they seem to have this unique ability to influence or interact with the continuum directly. It gives them a kind of spiritual power that doubles as an operational necessity for what they want to do. They were the ones who apparently summoned Hunter. And they're driving this mission, evacuate the last remaining Lho and also the surviving human disciples from Hennessy's Reach.
And to do that, they can't use the DO's painful, controlled interface gates. They need the old tech.
Exactly. They need an old-style starship.
Which means they need the obsolete E-Men. So Hunter is recruiting a team to mind push a rebuilt small ship.
A rebuilt small ship named, with some powerful irony, the Sublime, the Infinite.
Wow. Okay, turning the object of worship into the escape vessel.
Precisely. But the DO is fighting back. Hard. The former Enginemen are being hunted, killed off. Olafsson was murdered just 2 days before Hunter even got to Mirren. Fakit and Elliot are confirmed dead. The DO knows exactly who they need to eliminate to keep their grip on travel and the Rim.
So the stakes are incredibly high. But why the specific focus on Bobby Mirren? If they just need any E-Man to push a ship, why risk the time-lapse guy? He must be, impaired.
Well, this is the kicker. The ultimate punchline, really, from the source material. Hunter makes it explicit. The Lho effectuators require Bobby Mirren to push the ship.
They require him.
Yes. His unique neurological damage, that 24-hour separation from reality, it's not a handicap for this mission. It's his qualification.
You're saying his broken brain, the very thing that resulted from surviving Black syndrome, that's the key. That's what lets him interface with these low effectuators to fly the ship.
The irony is just staggering, isn't it? The purer the experience of the flux, the more it seemed to corrupt the body. But this specific corruption, this neurological disjunction in Mirren, somehow it provides the perfect bridge between the effectuators who exist on that cusp and the ship itself. He's the necessary living paradox.
So let's try and tie this all together. We've got the environmental decay, the spiritual addiction, the political tyranny. What does this all paint a picture of?
Well, we've seen a future where technology completely merged the physical and the spiritual, right? It confirmed the existence of heaven, the sublime, but it simultaneously turned it into this addictive substance, something that can be bought, sold, controlled, and something that ultimately destroys your nervous system. And the loss of that sublime experience fuels this whole generation of desperate people like the E-men, and that desperation, it's just ruthlessly exploited by the corporate military power of the Danzig Organization.
Yeah, the cost of accessing the sublime has been just terrifyingly high. You see it with McCready seeking death just to get back to the one. You see it with Bobby enduring this time-lapse existence to walk across a room. The galaxy demands a steep price for any kind of freedom, it seems.
And the ultimate paradox remains. The purest path to spiritual transcendence, the flux, it leads to fatal physical corruption. Yet that very corruption, in Bobby Mirren's unique case, becomes the essential mechanism for the resistance to even fight back. His destruction is key to potential liberation.
Right. That leaves us with a really important question, I think, for you, the listener, especially if you consider the value system of this universe. If the ultimate realization of an afterlife, the sublime, the infinite, is not only confirmed, but made, well, painfully accessible, and is also linked directly to corruption and death, does the existence of that confirmed beyond diminish the value, the purpose of the difficult, messy, mortal life we have to live right here in the now? It's a universe that really asks you to choose, doesn't it? Between the perfect eternal echo and the imperfect, often painful present moment. Definitely something to think about next time you're trying to sync up yesterday and today.